Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of the Diabetes Care Summit. I'm Dr. Barbara Akimbua, and I'm your health buddy. This summit is for you if you've been diabetic for a while and you've been struggling with keeping your blood sugar controlled, either because you have problems knowing what to eat, when to eat, how to eat, what else you need to do to keep healthy, or you do know these things, but it's difficult to be motivated. It's also for you if you have an elderly parent who is diabetic that you care for and you find juggling medications, clinic visits, meals, and then illnesses in between overwhelming. Or you're a beautiful married woman and all you would love to have is a normal pregnancy and delivery. And instead, you keep having miscarriages and stillbirths as a result of complications of diabetes. Or it could be your husband. He is the one who's diabetic. And during sex, you have problems. It's either most of the time he can't get it up, or he has other problems while you're having action. It's also for you if you're a health enthusiast and you believe that prevention is cheaper and better than cure. And so you'd like to learn anything you need to know to stay healthy. During this summit, you listen to loads of interviews by different specialists, including myself. Some of the interviews are short and some are not so short. But I'd encourage you to watch each video till the end because there's loads of important health information and you're getting it all for free. So, once again, welcome to the Diabetes Care Summit. And don't forget, I'm Dr. Barbara Akimbua and I'm your health buddy. See you on the healthy side. The topic we're discussing is caring for a parent with diabetes. It's an emotional topic for both of us. It's a rewarding experience, but it's also a difficult experience. So this is to help anyone who is going through that. I'm going to be like I said, I'm going to be speaking with a friend who had to take care of her mom, like we always do. I'll let her introduce herself and say what she does. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara. My name is Bella Ikeme, and I am a marketing consultant. I run a business development company, and also that's pretty much what I do. And I live and work in Lagos, Nigeria.
So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So how did you first hear about diabetes?
So my first degree is actually, believe it or not, after the introduction I just gave, is in medical radiography. So I am very well aware. I was actually taught in school about diabetes and the different types and those. So yeah, so I have more than basic knowledge of diabetes, that's for sure.
Okay. So how did you first know that your mom had diabetes?
So we kind of like my late mom was a nurse. So we were always made aware of our family history. So her father and mother had died of hypertension. And one of them, I can't remember now which one of them was diabetic. As well, I honestly can't remember at this time, but I know both of them were hypertensive. And also she would always say in her mother to say, you won't kill me before my time. My parents had hypertension. I won't have high blood pressure. She used to say stuff like that and all, so I always heard the words hypertension, diabetes like thrown around in my house a lot and all, so when she turned, so with the birth of my younger sister, her last child, she had preeclampsia and then that was how she became hypertensive from following the birth of my younger sister. She became hypertensive and she was managing it pretty well until about 10 or 15 years later, within a space of 1 month, she lost her youngest sister and her favorite sister's husband in a ghastly motor accident. So those two deaths, they were too much for her, and she had a stroke.
Oh,
And, yeah. So after the stroke, so she recovered pretty well from the first stroke, but about a year and a half later, she had a second stroke, and then it wasn't pretty from there. Yeah. And then
so,
it was one of the following checkups that we found out she was diabetic.
So what year was this?
Oh, when she became diabetic or when she had the stroke?
Both. Around what time?
So she had the first stroke. That must have been 19 of the years are just such a blur now.
Blur. In the 90s.
Very late 90s. Very late 90s. I'm now not sure if it was even 2000. I know that's what I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of something else that would jog my memory. No, but yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. But it definitely happened before 2002. Definitely. Of that, I'm sure. Yeah.
Wow, it's interesting. You are the first person I know who has a grandparent that was diabetic. Most people.
Oh, are you serious?
Yes.
I had two on my mother's side, two of them.
Wow. Not hypertension, diabetes.
Oh, no, okay, no, two hypertension, one diabetes, sorry.
Yes, so a lot of people have hypertension history, but not many people have grandparents who were diabetic. So I found out my grandmother on my dad's side was diabetic about 5 years ago, yes.
Oh, is she still alive?
No, she died. She died of complications when my dad was in secondary school, and she had to have her leg amputated. So she got a wound with her family, which did not. That's how she even knew she was. So it's not very common to find grandparents with that history. Okay, so how did your mom cope? So when your mom found out, or when you found out she was diabetic, she had already had 2 strokes.
Yes.
So how did she cope? Was she aware of what was going on?
Oh, she was very aware. She was very, very aware. I think when it happened at first, because she was a nurse herself, so she would do the whole as in not eat sugar, watch her diet and all of that. But salad cream was her kryptonite.
I can feel her.
Like what my mother would do with salad cream, like you can't eat leftover salad from my mom. Like it doesn't even taste like salad. It tastes like a parfait. Like that's how intense her love for salad cream was. And also like she would never even eat salad in public because they never give you enough cream. So she would be like, when I get to my house, I'll eat it how I want. And so she coped really fine. So everything was much better at the beginning because she was extremely lucid. She was still working. So she was managing it like we had the kids, she would test herself every morning for her blood sugar and all that. So it was really well managed at the beginning. And she would do the whole eating out of bitter leaf soup. Like she used to cheat. So what she do then is that if she feels she's eating a lot of sugar, she would now go on a cleanse.
And take something bitter.
She will take something, not even just once. For like 1 week after, she's eating only bitter leaf soup. Like everybody else is eating different soups, and she's eating just bitter leaf soup. If she checks and she still doesn't like it, she'll now start drinking ugu smoothies. Like, so she used to cheat a lot.
Wow.
She used to cheat a lot. And but it was very well managed at the beginning. Like at the beginning, we didn't even really need to remind her, say, "Oh, mommy, you're diabetic and all that." It was at the beginning, it was a condition. Okay. It was a condition that was being well managed. Yeah.
And she didn't need any input from any family member.
No, she didn't. Like I said, because she was a nurse and all, she knew like all her physicians, she knew them personally. There were some that went back to her Luth days, that's Lagos University Hospital days, and all. So she was very okay. Like you'd only escort her. It was about 3, 4, 5 years before she died that it became,
Hi, have you heard of Soyo, the new diabetes care app? Studies show that the best medicine to take for diabetes is to get education about it. Because if you understand how it affects your body, you'll know better what you need to do to fight it. It will also help you to take care of someone else with diabetes. With the app, you don't just get education, you also get to make your management plan either for yourself or the person you're taking care of. There are also lots of other features like meal plans, medication, and other reminders to keep you on track. And if you fall off, don't worry, just get back on. This is how families can live healthy and happy with diabetes. Don't be left behind. Download the app at soyo.web.app to care for yourself or someone else with diabetes. Yeah, so how, when you had to become involved in your mom's care, what were you say you were in
Yes,
university?
I was in university. I was in university.
So how did it happen? How did you cope?
Okay, so after the third, so at the time of the third stroke, when she was still in the hospital, my dad, of course, was confused. And then my younger sister was in that period of going for JAMB lessons, trying to write JAMB and all that. So even though she was at home, she was very focused on the next phase of her life and all, and I think youth as well. So immediately I heard that she was in the hospital. Of course, there was nothing. What was I doing in school? I just packed up my things and I was like, okay, my mom is in the hospital. I will see all of you later.
From home. Okay.
you know. So I think that was actually left from a lecture hall to go to the hospital. And because where I was in school in Enugu, and that was like when the roads were really good, that was like an hour 30, max 2 hours from literally from campus to my house. And so I just went straight to the hospital and all. And then when I saw her, like the state and everything, so I think I ended up staying at home for like 2 weeks until she got out of the hospital. And of course, when you're being discharged, you get the whole, she can do this, she can do this, she can do this. So we got all of that. And then even though I think I was in second year of a 5-year course, I was in second year at the time. But because of Shan Medical in my course, it
Yeah.
almost like just fell on me to be the primary caregiver somewhat, even though I wasn't there. So I had to be the one to like listen to for all her medication and all of that. Yeah. So that was pretty much when I started, being
So
very
you
involved.
became the home nurse.
Pretty much. I can't remember, like I struggle to remember a weekend I spent on campus from that time until I graduated. I struggle because it was literally on Fridays I would just go, and then I'll be with her over the weekend. Sometimes I'd come back Monday morning, go straight. So like I had like clothes at home, like I lived at home so that I could just travel light. So then straight from campus, I'd give somebody my lab. If we're in hospital, I'd give somebody my lab coat and then go home Monday, go straight to school. I struggle to remember a weekend I spent in school. I struggle.
That must have been hard.
It was intense. It was intense.
I can't even begin to imagine. Wow. So when you were
It
at
was intense.
school, then who took care of her?
Because I was almost always there, so even before I left, I'd kind of like, because I think I'm a very efficient person. So I would put like her drugs for the day in like little containers, like those little ketchup
Okay.
containers kind of thing. So there's no confusion because we had a scare once when a drug she was supposed to be drinking once a day. My dad was giving it to her 3 times a day.
Oh.
And of all drugs, it was Novas. You can imagine taking Novas 3 times a day. Like even once a day is a lot. How much more? Yeah. So we had a very big scare, like she was bleeding through her mouth, and all, of course, was intestines and all that were eroded and everything. So, but after that, I was like, okay, look, this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I will be back by Friday. You don't have to think about the weekend because I'll be here. And so it was my dad, and because we were all grown, and on both sides, my parents are the eldest. So we didn't really have like older people who could come stay with us. Like all my father's siblings and my mother's siblings had kids that were much younger. So they were busy like raising their own families and all. So we never really had. So by the time my younger sister turned 15, we didn't really have people living with us anymore. And then the maid at the time was a bit young, so of course she couldn't be, the most she could do was, okay, mommy's supposed to do this in the morning, give her this in the afternoon, but anything beyond that, she simply couldn't do. And But then because my mom, but to be honest, at the beginning, after the third stroke, she had her good days, like days where she would want to like behave like nothing happened, and even though she was dragging her feet, dragging her arm and all that, So there were days where she would be very lucid. I think that's the best word to use.
Okay.
She'd be very lucid.
So
And
she'll be
then other
very
days,
aware.
yes,
She'll be
yes. But
very
other
aware.
times, other times she's just like in her own zone and yeah.
So what was each day like? What were the things that had to be done for her when she wakes up? Could she have her bath herself, or she had to be bathed? Her meals had to be prepared. She had to be given her meals. What were the tasks that you needed to help her with?
Okay, so she could give herself a shower. It was until about a year before she died that she needed assistance with that. She could give herself, and then it helped that her bedroom, there was the bathroom in there and all that, so she could make her way to the bathroom and all that. She gave her a shower, but because of the arm, she needed help with getting dressed. But what we did with that was then we now started making her free clothes so that once she gets one hand in, she can use it, to help herself get. So we stopped no complicated clothing, like no buttons or anything where she needed like both hands, and also a lot of free flowing clothes, and also she could dress herself. And then so even though she could make it to the kitchen, because sometimes she stopped cooking. By that time she wasn't cooking and she couldn't cook anymore. And we didn't even trust her because we didn't want her pouring hot water herself or something like that, so she wasn't cooking. But sometimes if maybe she would see somebody else eating maybe something like yam or something, and she wasn't allowed, and it wasn't on her menu for that day, you would actually, the person would get to the kitchen, she's eating the person's yam. Like my dad had times when his food, she would have eaten his food before he comes back. And she was tired. She was like I can't even imagine, like, yeah.
My dad used
So
to
those are
do
the
this.
tasks. Yeah, I guess think about it. Like even when doesn't it happen to you, like even when you're fasting, like you could go a whole day without eating, but once you know that you're fasting, you're just hungry.
My dad used to do the same thing. What was the most difficult for you in this whole experience of having to? Because when you take care of a parent in the few years before their death, you literally you watch them going, you see it. And if you are the person with a medical background like you and I, there are things you notice, there are things you see that the others don't, and you keep it to yourself. So what was the most difficult thing you had to contend with in those last 5 years?
I think what it was just her not being herself anymore. Like things would happen and what she would likely have said or done when she was herself, and just watching her slowly, like you said, slowly go. But for me, it wasn't just about the going, it was the not being herself, just not being herself, like my mom that could talk up a storm, like she could gist, and then you're in the house with her, she doesn't even want to get out of bed. You go into the room with this fig and the name eludes me now, for the blood sugar. Yeah, the glucometer and all, and she will just refuse to give you her finger or to give you her arm, almost like she was thinking, what's the point? And as for your loved one, you just want to drag it out, even though she stopped being herself, and no, you just want to drag it out, like, can I get one more day? Can we get one more week? Can we get one more month? I think, that was it.
So
Yeah, that was it.
did how was it for your dad and your sisters? Did they know? Could they see it?
They knew and they could see, but because they weren't coming around as often, so they were almost like, okay, no, my dad, of course, was there through it all, but he's always been a very stoic person. He's not the person you would see break down or be overly. He's always been like pretty stoic about his emotions and all, but sometimes you'd catch him just looking at her, just looking. You don't like, almost like, where are you? Are you there? Are you even there? And so the moments like that gave what he was feeling away, and then also it slowed him down, because I mean, you have a sick wife, you're not going to be going for functions and all that, and I think something else he did, which I think it was him coping, but it wasn't entirely good for her, was he became antisocial. And then you know how it is, people say they want to come, they want to come. After a while, if you keep giving them excuses or saying you're not in town, you're not around, they just stop offering to come. And also months would go by and they've not had any company around the house and all that, so I wish, maybe she would have not given up so quickly if she had like people coming out, who knows, but I completely understand where my father was coming from, because I can be like that, sometimes, like just, I really don't feel like company. And then you also don't want people seeing the decline. I think for him, it was also preserving their memory of her, because it was towards the end, it was tough. So then for my siblings, they were a bit, my elder sister was, I think, the most protected, because she finished school, she went off to law school, and then she started working immediately. And also it was always holidays, she would come for maybe like a week during her leave and all, or when my mom would come around to Lagos for treatment or something, she would see still weekends, because she had to go to work and all, So it was really between myself and my younger sister that felt it.
I bore the brunt.
Yeah.
Okay. So was there anything you found easy?
What was easy was, and I don't know if it's because of my medical background or just because for me it's cause and effect. The doctor says, if you do this, you'll be fine. If you take your drugs, she'll feel better. The blood sugar will, be managed, and she can live a pretty much normal life and all. So the easy part for me was when we were doing everything we're supposed to be doing and she was fine, or whatever fine means. I think that was the easy part, because you go for your checkups, because we never miss those. It's time for a checkup. She goes, her drugs before they finish. We're like, okay, because I would always count and look at her drugs. Then my younger sister, of course, started doing it as well. You look at her drugs, okay, does she, how many days or weeks supply does she have, so that before it finishes, you have a, you get a refill. So that was easy, like the instructions part, the do's and the don'ts, that was easy. That was easy, especially because it was pretty much, it wasn't rocket science, like if she takes her drugs, she's going to feel better. She's not going to have, because luckily, even though she was diabetic for almost 20 years, if you think about it, and it was managed. She never had a sore and all that, it was managed. It was managed.
So you could see the positive effects of her taking her drugs and adhering to what the doctor said. So you were motivated.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because then, the one I think they tell you is that avoid sores and scars as much as possible. And I think for us to have done that in almost 20 years and she didn't have a sore, I think we did good.
You did well. You did very well. You definitely did very well. So when you have to care for someone for a long time, you go through a lot of emotions and you go through a lot. What emotions did you go? And then for you too, you were in school. You had to go to Enugu, come back almost every week. Once, school was in session, and it must have been tough. So what emotions did you go through? How did you cope emotionally? Because even the thought of everything you were going through, it's a huge burden.
To be honest, it's only when people like when you talk about it like this that it seemed like it was a big deal coming home every weekend. It was, for me, was this is just what's how it's going to be. Like I need to be home over the weekend, and somehow everybody in my life, even in school and all, like I'm currently married to my boyfriend in school then, so it was like, I'm going, like it's Friday, I'm going home, like,
I have to go
so
home.
yeah, there was nothing about it. Like then even the transport company, they knew they would keep I had a seat. Like they would keep it because they know as in at a certain time she's going to be here, so to be honest, like it's only when you mention it like this that it seemed like I was doing anything special. For emotions, there was some anger, if I'm honest. There was some anger as to why her, why can't this be easy? And then towards the end, why isn't she getting better? What does she need to get better? And then as Christians, you're also praying and hoping for the best, but it gets to a point where you're like, you know what? If this is God's will, then hey, so there was sometimes when she has good days, get a lot of hope. You're like,
Yeah.
oh wow, maybe she really can beat this, maybe she really can. Yeah, because even when she died and the way she died, even though she had been sick for a while, I still wasn't expecting it. Because there were good days, and then other days were kind of like a chore, like you just need to get through the day, and also we're just one day at a time. Today is a good day. We're awake. Today is Monday. She's fine. There are no emergencies. She doesn't have to go to the hospital, or we don't need to call the doctor about anything. She's taking her meds. And also there was anger, hope, faith, and then just love. Like, I not explain my mom. My mom was everything. Like, so just love, a lot of love and understanding, because I knew like when the days when she wanted to binge on certain things, like sometimes my mother, even before everything, was not really like a soda person. Or
Okay.
some days you find her drinking Coke. I'm wondering, A, where did you get Coke from? B, when did you start drinking Coke?
Like that.
But I would actually humor her and be like, what, mommy, finish the damn bottle. If that's what you need to do to feel a bit, like yourself.
Yeah.
All that, yeah.
Wow. So you've I think you've said it all. You've hit the crux of the matter, because we do those things for love. That's we do what we need. We do what we have to for love. That's the summary of everything, because it's love that gets you through the difficult times. It's love that makes you hope. It's love that makes you have faith. It's even love that makes you angry because you don't see the results you you want to see, and instead you are seeing the opposite. And then at the end of it all, it's still love. You believe that God is love, and whatever it is that is going through, or whatever it is that you are going through, the love of God is still at the core of whatever is happening. So, yeah. Was there any lesson, or were there any lessons you learned from taking care of your mom?
I think the biggest lesson, okay, I think there are different lessons. When going through it, I think the biggest lesson was appreciating time, because you never really know how much time you have. Like even those times I would go to school, thank God for GSM, whenever my phone would ring and I see my dad, I would always hesitate to
To
pick. Like
answer.
it wasn't like how you die for the phone, I'd be like, I think, hey, what is about to
What are
what
they
am I
going to
about to hear? What is, and then because those calls did come from time to time, as in those kind of calls, they did come from time to time. So I think just an appreciation for time, that make the best of it, because for me also going home so often was also, I don't know if this is the last time. I don't know if this is the last time. And then she died. By the time she died and I started working, I still remember I was actually in a meeting when I was called that she had died. So all through it, also finishing school and then getting married, and then when I got married, we were living outside Nigeria for about, I think, almost 2 years. And I was still coming, I was still coming like once every 3 months.
Wow.
And so yeah, and then I'm just glad that by the time she left, we were back in Nigeria. So yeah, even though funny enough, when we're back in Nigeria, I now wasn't seeing her as often as when we were out. I think it just gets to a point where like she's okay, she's stable, like she will likely never go back to herself, but at least she's stable. Which I was surprised when I did get the call that she had died, because she was now stable. She wasn't herself anymore. Few lucid moments, but she was stable. So yeah, so I think time. But in hindsight, and I guess with maturity, when I look back at it now, is two things for me. One is when people show up in life, maybe at work, in church, or wherever, you don't know what they're going through. So just be nice to people. I'm very big on that now, being nice to everybody, because you really can't tell. Like, because all that time in school, if you went in my immediate circle, you would never know. You would never know what we're dealing with and all that. So just be nice to people. So I'm very big on that now, and I preach it. Because people, we come out, and whether it's personal challenges or third-party challenges, because your family member is going through something, you're still going through it in some way, shape, or form. So be nice to people. And then the second lesson for me, maybe two in one, is taking care of yourself and managing situations. Like now, I am already very, very particular about what I put in my mouth. I'm very particular about my lifestyle with regards to, because I have propensity based on genealogy, I have propensity to be hypertensive. And then even with my second child and my last child, I had borderline preeclampsia. And so the awareness, that I have now makes me just take better care of myself and all that, and then everybody around me as well. So I think, yeah, so it's care and management and making choices, because I just finished reading a book, The Compound Effects by Darren Hardy, and he talks about, how little things it's the compound effect of little things. It's not that one little thing, that rocks the boat. Is the compound effect of that one little thing done over and over again. So for me, even just like when I start feeling that's the way I feel, and I'm like, I don't care if the world is falling, I shut down my laptop, whatever I'm doing, and I go and lie down.
I like that.
I got like, and yeah, so that's a lot of awareness, so I just go and I go and lie down. If I don't like how I'm feeling, I check my blood pressure and all. And now with my kids, my first is 5 years old, and my kids don't know what sugar is. Like, it's so bad. We once went out with a couple of friends and their kids, and all the kids can be with sugar, and all the kids went to the ice cream stand. So I think my first daughter went there because, okay, everybody's running towards the ice cream stand, and they bought her, I honestly can't remember what flavor it was now. And next thing I saw was she had spat out the first spoon. Like, kids can just embarrass you. She took the first spoon of ice cream and spat it out in front. Like, it was the most disgusting thing ever. And so even after I was very embarrassed and all that, and I was proud. I was like, hey, life can be normal without all these things. So except the sugar they get maybe in biscuits and juice, with their cereal, they don't have sugar, they don't miss it, and soft drinks now is so bad. My second daughter she's 2. She'll be 3 in January. And it's so bad that if they see you drinking soda, they'll bring it their cup and they'll bring water for you to mix it, because they can't handle it like that. So I'm very proud. I'm very proud of myself. I'm extremely proud.
Well done.
Proud.
Well done. So we have similar background, similar history. So for me, because my dad's family, bad history of hypertension too. A lot of people when they're young, and then with this diabetes as well. And then because I have rings on my neck, when I was a child, I used to be taunted. They would tell me, you'll be very fat, You'll be very fat. Look at your neck. So it's stuck, right from an early age that I need to watch what I eat and I need to watch my weight. So I've done that. I've tried to teach my kids as well. And so with them, my daughter doesn't like soda. She doesn't, in fact, anywhere you go, if you say what, she'll tell you water. She just doesn't, it's not as if she doesn't like other sweet things, but she would not drink soft drink. And I've tried to teach them. So you have soft drinks once a week so that they know that it's something you have occasionally. It's not something that, just because it's around, you can have it all the time. So taking care of your mom, would you do it again? All over again?
May heartbeat. May heartbeat.
When they are gone, you wish you could have them back. There are times you tell them things, you want to gist. And well, so for me, what I learned taking care of my dad is, like you say, time. Every moment you have with people, anybody is a gift. So make the most of it. You don't know why that person is in your life. You don't know how long that person is going to be in your life for. So every opportunity you have, make it count.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what advice would you give anyone taking care of a parent or who has a parent with diabetes or a spouse or any family member?
I think regardless of religion, just ask for grace. Ask for grace, because there are days when you have so much going on in your own life, in your own head. You might even have a physical pain somewhere, but it just all dims in comparison to what your loved one needs and all, So I would say grace. Just ask for, if there's one prayer you would make every morning, it's the grace. And then second advice is, don't think out the entire stretch of time. Just look at it one day. Today is Thursday, the 14th of July. They are here, they are alive. Today they need this. I'm going to give them this. Because I find that sometimes what gets us overwhelmed in caring for sick or ailing family members or even friends is when you're thinking out the entire years, my goodness, should this be the hospital? And then I now be able to do this, and then I now be able to do this. And then before you know it, you're so overwhelmed by everything, So one day at a time, because when they do go, you are going to remember the days one at a time. They're not going to be lumped together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then do what you're told to do. You know what I mean? Because there is a reason why. So with medicine and planned out care, those things have been created for a reason and based on science and research. Like nobody is saying anything to you to be mean or anything. Like I'll tell you something I've never forgotten. And for me, it's become a life lesson, is that no matter what you are going through, the world is still rotating.
Oh, yes.
So after my mom's third stroke and I went to the hospital and all, I remember, because of course, when I came, I was like, okay, the doctor had just finished with my dad and my sister. When I came, I was like, okay, I'm here. You have to tell me everything you told them.
Afraid.
Yeah, so he was now explaining, and then he had the whole, bedside man, he had the whole look, trying to sympathize, with what had happened, and, the prognosis and all that. And then towards the end of the conversation, it felt like he was getting a bit distracted and all, and I know this now from hindsight, because what happened was immediately he left me, he put his hand into his pocket, got on the phone with somebody and was laughing and walking away. And I just stood there and my eyes filled. I was like, yeah, like it's not his mom, it's not his sister, it's not his wife, he's done his job and he's going off to continue his life, so for me, the world keeps turning. So even the flip side of that is, regardless of what you are going through, the world, keeps turning. So whether for the positive or the negative, the world is still turning, so for me, it's just be good, be well. Care, whatever planned care you've been told, just do it, because I can say for a fact that if we did not follow the routines and everything we asked to do, my mother would have gone at least 10 years before. No, because in mind, like she always had, like then we would always have like a dietitian come around and plan, just because for me it was a case of, can we mix this up a bit so she's not, like after she died and we're cleaning out the house, the number of custard containers that were in that house.
Wow.
And she positively hated custard. Like she hated it. Like she would look at it and sometimes she'll just have tears in her eyes when she opens the plate and sees that it's custard. And so yeah, so I think for me it's just, whatever care and whatever you're told to do it, and whatever helps you become more efficient. Give, like what I did with the drugs or not, because after that scale of, like, literally her lips were red and like she was talking, and then like the movies, she started coughing and then clumps of blood, and so so whatever you're told to do, and like medication, don't skip it and say, oh, I'm eating well, so I don't need to take my drugs, and all that. So.
Thank you, Bella.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. I hope you've learned. Like I said, it's an emotional topic for both of us. So just take it one day at a time, do what you need to do. And we'll see you in the next episode. I'm glad you took my advice and watched the video till the end, and I hope you learned a thing or two. So don't forget, watch the next videos because there's still lots of information that will be really beneficial to you. Don't forget soyo.web.app. Download it now. See you in the next video. Bye.